Yo, welcome to another episode of the Real Deal Podcast with your homie Rich Panacea. You already know what it is, man. It's another time in the week, man. It's a new month. Welcome to December. Alright, today, right now, you know I'm talking to my Unc I-Jay. Hey, Unc, talk to the folks, man. Let them know what's up.
What's happening, man? Just over here chilling, checking in with you.
Man, same on this end. So it's just been a lot going on, which is why I got all these opinions about stuff, man. So first off, of course, you know, in your neck of the woods, they done had this football championship game, man. So what you think about the Tigers actually getting them a W, man?
It's good, you know. Glad to finally see them back. It's been 2007, so it's been over a decade. They've been up and down. I think the last time we went was 2013, but we didn't win. So it's good to actually, to have the win behind it.
Nah, facts, man. And then you know how it be, man. The city always be happy every time they see the team win, especially when they win the way that they won, man. So the good thing is they actually went out there and blew the team out. Because you know them, man, they would have slept up and messed around, let them come back real quick.
Well, I've been looking at some of the things people been saying, and I watch some of the other people that actually follow sports and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson State, the football team is they good at all phases. I won't say that they blew Prairie View out, but I will say that coaching played a huge part in Jackson State winning that game.
Facts.
Because Prairie View had a good team, but the lack of vision and the lack of direction in certain areas from the coaching on the Prairie View side cost them the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with coaching and discipline too, man. Because Prairie View, they got a good coach and they good discipline, but man, Beyond, that's a whole different level, man. And that whole team marched off the way he marched, and you could tell.
Oh, most definitely. It was interesting to finally see Jackson State's running game win a game for him, because the whole season has been a passing game.
Straight up, though.
Everybody already had the question of if the passing game was off, what was going to happen. Jackson State's offensive line isn't the strongest. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
man, is that the first game of the season where a running back had like over 100 yards?
I believe Alabama A&M was the first game, but it's the first game since the Alabama A&M game that they've had a run game like that.
Yeah, man. Just imagine if they would have been playing like that the whole year when you talking about the running game and the passing game, just how explosive they would have been out there on the field for real.
Yeah. They won everything but one game, but if the running game and the passing game was at that level the whole season, you talk about a totally different ending probably to most of the games, and they probably actually win the Louisiana Monroe game if they actually had the one game like that. Man,
just imagine if the defense played a little bit better that game, they'd still be undefeated right now.
Well, you have to remember James Houston, the best defensive player was ejected for targeting in that game. When you lose your best defensive player, things like that tend to happen.
Man, I didn't even realize that. They was so early in the season, man.
Yeah, if James Houston hadn't gotten ejected, we'd probably have a different conversation too.
Yeah, they probably still would won. So you think that they're going to finish the year out with one loss?
I do. I don't. Looking at South Carolina State, they're not a bad team, but, South Carolina State is a team, from what I've seen, their defense isn't that great. They get into a lot of shootouts, I think they lost to Alabama A&M like 42-41, just like type of game you want to play Jackson State, because Jackson State, they're going to make those stops on defense. They're not going to let you score 40 points.
Thanks. Yeah, man, it might be good, man. And then every time we're playing the teams from the MEAC too, it'll always be a close contest. It's just that the last couple of years, man, the SWAC just, I don't know, man. It's like when the SWAC get into those big games where they're on TV and stuff like that, for some reason, like, they freeze up. And it's the same problem with basketball always too. It's like I literally was watching the Jackson State game maybe like 2 weeks ago. They were playing some small school from California or something like that, who's in a bigger league than the SWAC or whatever. But it was just like one of them games I could just look at the TV and you could just tell that Jackson State got the better team, but for some reason they getting blew out. And it's just like, man, when you got the cameras in front of you and you playing these folks with names, you can't even really just think about that. You just got to go out there and just play. So it's like with the schools that you see that go from being like the smaller schools to the bigger schools, like the Wichita States and stuff like that. Even Louisiana Lafayette and Coastal Carolinas and stuff like that. You see the teams actually go out there and play. They don't really worry about who they playing. They just go out there and just play the game.
Well, all of that goes back to coaching, though.
Facts.
How much can the coaches get the team to zone in and tune out, all the outside stuff? How can you zone in on, making your plays instead of paying attention to what's going on in the crowd? That just goes back to coaching and the discipline that the coaches require of the players.
I'll tell you one thing that I said early in the season, before the season started. I was just like, this is the first time in a long time, especially for like Jackson State, or even for like a lot of schools that's in like the SWAC or something like that, where they got a team that had enough players who was used to winning on the offense and defense for the whole team to have that mentality. So I was like, they're going to end up being really good because they got enough people who've been a start on offense and defense who going to propel the people who not getting in. So it's like the people who might not have that mindset, when you got people who done been these 4-star recruits, 5-star recruits, and played at these big programs, and they used to winning state championships and stuff like that. When you put that many like-minded people on one team, you have no choice but to win, because those people gonna think alike. So when you got them on both sides of the ball, it's like, what's gonna happen?
That's true, but I think the biggest thing for Jackson State is Dion, he says it every week, every press conference, they ask about who started at every position. And he always says, every position is open. You have to win it in practice.
Facts. And you saw it with the running game early in the season when they went from the Pickett dude to the Marshall dude.
Right.
And then you seen it switch back.
Right, but some of that was Peyton Pickett was hurt also. But for the offense, Peyton Pickett didn't quite fit with, what they were trying to do with the running game, especially with the offensive line. So the holes weren't there. But Marshall, without the holes being there, he's had the quickness to get to the outside.
Thanks.
So it was just a business saying that, okay, so right now, since the offensive line is not producing what we need for him, let's go with this person. And knowing that he's already hurt, don't continue. And like I said, that's another thing about coaching. He saw that Peyton Pickett was hurt and he was trying to do it, but he couldn't. So he was like, hey, let's come sit down for a little bit. You rest and get healthier so that when we need you down the stretch, you'll be healthy. I know Coach Dooley, I've watched Coach Dooley, his teams. One thing that kept coming up this past week about Coach Dooley was the questioning of his player management. In the last few seconds of the Mississippi Valley State game, when the game was already lost, they lost a top receiver to an ankle injury. And a lot of people question, why did he have the vision to see that, you're going to the SWAC Championship, you're going to need that receiver. Why not go ahead and pull your starters? So that goes back to the idea of, coaches knowing what you have and what you need and knowing when to use them and when not to use them.
No, in fact, you definitely got to have strategy to it. So it's one thing I've been dying to talk to you about for like the last 2 weeks, man. And that's, what do you think what is your opinion on these last 2 halftime shows and halftime performances?
The halftime show that the Sunday Bowl did this past Saturday, it was awesome. It really had a lot of energy to it. They had really great selections for the things that they played.
Right.
So I really did enjoy that one. I also enjoyed the All-Point show. I know that there was a lot of controversy about it and different things, but there's never anything wrong with trying something new. One thing people failed to realize was Jackson State was the only band this year that did a new show every time they performed.
Thanks.
So going into the Alcorn game, that made 10 different field show performances, which means they're learning a field show plus the music every week. To learn all that and go out there and produce it, and I'm talking about basically almost flawlessly, is really mind blowing.
I mean, that's one of them things that we known for doing though in the Jack though, for sure. It's Mississippi for sure. That every week we gonna come up with something new. We don't really do the same thing every weekend. like we definitely not gonna do that. So like with me, I seen both of them. I watched both of them. The only thing I gotta say about the Alcorn one is I liked it when they brought Boosie out. I just don't like the way he set it off sound when they played it. For some reason, it was just sounding off to me. You kind of get what I'm saying? It didn't really kind of, this from my ears anyway, it didn't really necessarily sound like the song to me, but I got it with Boosie being on there. So it's just like, you know, what a lot of times when you be playing songs that be popular and stuff like that, it depends on what part of the song they're actually playing. Are they playing the hook? Are they playing the verse? Like, what part of the instrumentation are they actually getting into? And like, that's the part that's kind of like, even right now I really don't know which part they were playing. Like, I know what Boosie was rapping, but I don't know what part of the beat they was actually trying to play or attempting to play.
So here's the new thing with the Sonny Boom, that a lot of people not wrapping their heads around. You know, is there has been a change in the sound and a change in the arrangement.
Facts.
And this was, you could see it coming with Dr. Little before he officially took over the program, that he was being grown for it. It was going to be his program, and you could tell that over the past few years he's been installing this thing into the arranging. So, in the way that Dr. Little wants to arrange the sound, they encompass a lot of things in the background that a lot of other bands probably wouldn't do.
Man, I think a lot of them scared to even try it.
Well, the thing is, when you do that, sometimes if you have a section that's not as prominent, you can leave them on the island and they could get lost in the sauce.
Facts.
So we know Jackson State trumpet section, they're there, they're present, but they're not a dominant trumpet section.
Right.
They do what they need to, and they do what they have to. That doesn't always mean that they're just going to just sit on top of the band. So a lot of times, when they're left on the island by themselves, they're there, and if you're really paying attention, you hear the parts that they want you to hear out of what they're playing. And, you know, sometimes it's going to be where the background parts just overshadow it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of people don't like it, but it's one of those things that now people gonna have to accept, because Dr. Little is the director of bands, and he's probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah.
But like I say, they did something that I ain't never seen nobody do this past weekend, which I thought was dope. But you gotta be borderline crazy to even try this, especially in the game. Like, they literally picked 2 songs, and you gonna know what part I'm talking about if you watch the show. They had the brass section play a song by themselves. Then they had the woodwinds play a song by themselves.
So that is a thing that, believe it or not, Southern has been kind of doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Southern used to do it in 4 blocks.
They did it in the games?
Yeah, halftime.
Oh man, I ain't never seen. That's my first time ever seeing somebody do that. I thought that was wild.
Yeah, Southern did it. They've done it over years. It was a trademark thing. They would split the band into 4 different blocks. You would start with block 1. They would dance while everybody else dances. Block 2, all the way through all 4. And then they have done it where they've done it, you know, one side dances, one side plays. So it's really the first time that Jackson State has done that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bold. It worked, but only to a certain extent.
Right.
Going back to Jackson State's trumpet section, the only knock I have on that was that when the trumpets came in on that pickup on Anna Cruz's to Can We Talk,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't enough of them playing that it came out as strong as they wanted it to. If the whole band had been playing, all the trumpets had been playing, it would have came in perfectly. But because there was only, half of them playing, it didn't come in as strong as, they wanted to. That's the only thing that I could really say about it. Other than that, it was great. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and it's two things that really caught my attention, especially with like being a performer over the last 2 weekends. One was from this weekend when Jackson State did the little thing where they was running around, and then they made the JSU up in there to make it that size and just kind of like run into a formation like that, and everybody be on the same accord. That's one of the things you can instantly tell, like, okay, yeah, they practice on that to make sure that look that way from up top. Because it's one thing to like to kind of do it on the field when you like the person there just like, nah, y'all run over there. But it's another thing when you above it and you seeing it and it comes out like perfectly the way that they tried to design it for it to come out. And then the other thing that I thought was like super dope was like how ratchet and how all over the place Alcorn show was. Like Alcorn just came in there just with the shit.
You can really tell. Everson Mark, the director of band, was from Southern. And you could really see the Southern influence in Alcorn show. Not saying that there was anything wrong with it, but you could tell that there was a heavy Southern influence on it.
I believe it.
And, Alcorn is going to, once they get their numbers back up, Alcorn is going to really be something to deal with in the SWAC, especially with the addition of their two new assistants, the former student Rangers. Those two guys are a tag team duo that, man, if Alcorn could get Jackson State or Southern's numbers behind Jared and Drew, Alcorn could really run the SWAC, man.
Man, that gonna be a problem because it's like that band didn't even look like it was that big to be able to spell out the cap like they did. And I was just like, man, check out Alcorn, man. Like, that was a big flex. Like, a lot of people ain't really say nothing about it, but they were flexing for sure. Like, they show was way better than I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, nah, this is actually a decent show for real. Then they were playing songs that made sense for it being a rivalry game. Like Jackson State's one really, like, too much into the rivalry thing. It's like they did a little bit, but Alcorn was just on some all the way, just like, nah, we here.
But, between those two, it always seems like, the home band has a lot less aggression than the away band. We've seen that, the past few years. We saw it in 2018, Jackson State had way more aggression than Alcorn. Alcorn had way more aggression in 19 when they came to Jackson.
Right.
And so, it's just, that's just a thing with them and how they go back and forth. But, I wasn't surprised about how Alcorn performed because, I know several students in Alcorn, I work with them when they were at Holmes County. So, it doesn't surprise me at all. And just watching Alcorn over the season, they were a little iffy in the start. Some songs were hit or miss. But by the time they got to Southern, you could really tell the direction that they were heading. And I think that, them not having to face another band between the time that they saw Southern and Jackson State really helped them because it really allowed them to just get in, basically in the band room and focus on their music. And then leading up to Jackson State, just focus on the field show.
No, for sure, especially with it being a school, like the size of the actual school and the location at it, like, yeah, no, facts that helped them, especially with preparation and time and stuff like that, because they actually gave them a chance to like really like buckle in and focus on what their objective was, especially like going into that weekend.
Right.
Yeah, so, all right, so with me, man, I got a chance to do a concert last week, right? So we got this concert out here called Jingle Ball. I got a chance to work the concert with the radio station. So I got some interesting takes, and I want to get your opinion. I want to get your opinion on some things. So leaving the concert, I would tell you this: I feel like Lil Nas X may be one of the best performers in music right now. 100%. Like, I literally watched that man single-handedly take a crowd that was there to see him, but not sure what to expect at the show, but knew that they liked some of the songs and have them literally cheering for him out of the palm of his hands, bro. All while dressed up as a cheerleader the whole show.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Dressed up as a cheerleader and then did a whole cheerleader line dance with his dancers mid-show.
Wow.
So we're talking about a arena full of parents, high schoolers, some college people, and literally take everybody and have them cheering for him the whole show. So from seeing it, me knowing what I know about music, knowing what I know about music management and stuff like that, literally got to say he's like one of the best performers in music right now, because that's one of the hardest things to do, is to literally keep people glued to your show. Because it's I was in the tunnel watching him perform before we went backstage or whatever toward the end, and I think when I started watching the performance, because he did like maybe like 25 minutes, right? So it wasn't a long set. It was just kind of like an in-between set, something like that, because nobody really performed over 20 minutes. So it was one of them concerts where it's just like everybody goes in and kind of does their hits. It's like they do their show, they do their hits, then they're gone type show, right? So I think by the time I started watching the show, he was doing the Call Me By My Name song. You know, the one be like, call me by your name, that one. So I think that's where I started it when it came to show. And from there, it just was getting crazier and crazier and crazier, bro. So it's one of them things where it's just like, I started watching it because I was like, let me check it out a little bit, because I saw him earlier when he was doing like rehearsal for it. But I didn't know what all songs he was doing. I just kind of came in on like one song when he was doing rehearsal for it or whatever, because he did a quick rehearsal. He kind of got in, got out, you know what I'm saying? Did his part, just kind of, you know, making sure that he knew what songs was in the set, but not doing the whole thing. It was like one of them type deals. So I was just sitting there glued, just sitting here watching this for like maybe like 10 minutes, and I'm just like, this man is going crazy up here. And I'm just, so it went from me just looking at him to now I'm just looking around and just seeing how people like reacting in the stands to him. And I'm like, nah, he got these folks going crazy. Like, this is wild. Now, mind you, he still has a skirt on this whole time. So he has a skirt on. He done took the little vest off that he had on. So he just up there really just naked chest with a skirt on. And his dancers just got on, they naked chest with just like little pants on. So it just kept getting crazier and crazier. And he didn't even do Old Town Road yet. He didn't do that until like almost kind of like in between there. So he's just doing like really like new album stuff. And then the man did the Christmas song that he came out with like a year and a half ago or something like that. But he's doing the Christmas song like naked chest with a skirt on. So it's like, it was like one of the wilder performances that I've ever seen. Like bro, the man had his background dancers carry him in his own. It was like a whole lot of stuff going on, bro. But it was just like one of them things where it's just like, it's like, even if you weren't comfortable with the presentation that he put together for his show at the beginning of it, it's one of them things where it's just like, it was so entertaining that you couldn't stop watching it. If that makes sense.
Well, you know, the mark of a good performer, they're always going to do things to grab attention.
Facts.
And once you get the attention, how do you keep the attention?
Facts.
And it just sounds like, you know, the things he did, he grabbed the attention immediately, then he kept the attention. And I get why he did Old Town Road later, because that literally was probably his most popular song.
Right.
You know, everybody knows it. So,
right.
when you do it like that, you have people on the edge of their seats waiting, going, when is Old Town Road coming? I know it's coming. When is Old Town Road coming?
Mm-hmm.
But you're hitting them with all these other things, and they're like, well, wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and then he did it in a way to where it was like, the show wasn't even a kid-heavy performance. You kind of get what I'm saying? So it's like by the time it came on, and the way that it came on, I was just like, yeah, man, nah, he know what he doing. Either he know what he doing, or whoever's helping him put together that show, they know what they doing. Like I'm like, okay, he got some people around him who actually like paying attention to detail. It's like they going with his ideas, but they really detailed into like the performance aspect of it and making sure that it come across a certain way.
Well, the biggest thing that they always tell any person in music is to know your audience.
Facts.
If you don't know what audience you're playing for, you set yourself up for failure from the start.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really tell that when they put that set together in that whole show, that they really knew what demographic, what age group, and who they were performing. He was performing for, and they said it so that performance will be tailored for the audience. And that's why a lot of people, you hear people say, well, I went to this concert and it sucked. I didn't like this. I was waiting on this and that, and they did this, and I didn't understand why they did it. It was because, you can't do, sometimes you might have a set of songs that you're going to do on your concert set. Sometimes you might have to, switch it up a little bit because, you can't really do, let's just say, if you are performing in Memphis, you might not get the same type of response in Memphis that you would in Atlanta.
No, facts. You can't do a New Orleans performance in Memphis and think the people gonna respond the same way.
Right. So that goes into knowing your audience, and that from what you're saying, he definitely knew his audience, and he definitely tailored his performance, for the audience engagement.
So I got a question. What's your opinion on Doja Cat?
In all honesty, I really don't know too much about her. I've heard a couple of her songs, just here and there, but I really didn't know too much. I still don't really know too much about her. I really haven't heard a lot of her music, so I really can't say.
Well, I can tell you, like with her, like two of her biggest songs maybe would have been like viral. Well, three of her biggest songs at first would have been like viral, I guess, like TikTok songs to kind of like catch people's attention. That would have been like the Move song that she had, the one where she was like, bitch, I'm a cow, doing all this shit, dressed up like a cow and shit, twerking and shit like that. That one, the Tia Tamara joint, that's pretty much self-explanatory, you know what I'm saying? If you ever watch Sister, you'll kind of get it. But instead of talking about twins, she's talking about her boobs the whole time. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, you get her twins, Tia Tamara, yeah. And then the other one will be the Juicy song, keep it juicy. If you see it from the front, you see it from the back, just kind of being thick. So from her like starting out with like those being her biggest songs into going into the album that she got like now with the songs with like SZA and The Weeknd and all those like really like strong sounding instrumentation songs like that, her performance has switched all the way over. Like if you ever get a chance to listen to her new album, like her new album is really good. That's why she got nominated for as many Grammys that she got nominated for. The instrumentation on there it's high level instrumentation. That's the best way I can kind of explain it. I want to almost say like Kanye type instrumentation, but the whole CD is really like a pop album. It's really a pop album, but it don't sound like a 2021 pop album, if it makes sense. Like the way that it's put together, it's kind of put together like a 1999 through like 2001 pop album. Like how them Backstreet Boys and NSYNC type CDs used to be put together. It's kind of like structured like that. The only difference is that she's like singing on her, cause she does this thing where she's kind of like Drake almost, where she kind of like sings and she like raps on almost every song. So she doing that on every song, but the beats are super poppy though. They either super poppy or they got a lot of 808s in there. So it's like they either sound like bubblegum or they sound almost like a little Dirk, little baby type 808 type beat or something like that. So it's like this weird combination. But she's doing this on the same album though. But then it's structured like "Hit Me Baby One More Time" type album though. So it's really kind of like unique the way that it's put together. So like imagine like listening to it on a CD and then seeing it on the stage where you have people playing it with drums and you have them playing it with pianos and actually the live instruments there and the way that it comes across.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's like when you do that and then you add in the background singers, the background dancers, and you add in those other elements, now she done stepped her show game all the way up. So she was the one that actually closed out the show. And it's like well deserved because it's just like the last people who impressed me that much as far as like the growth from like one performance style to another performance style. Like I can't really say Lil Nas X because like we just now kind of seeing what his performance style is because it's just like at first it was just like he had like, the one song. You get what I'm saying? So we just now really seeing what his full stage performance is really like because it's like he doesn't just have the 1 to 2 songs. It's like okay now he got 10 songs, 15 songs to pick from. So he can add different things into that set. But the last time I was impressed like that was Migos when they first did the Culture City. When they started working with Kanye and started working with good music as far as like when it came down to the actual show presentation of it. Because Migos used to just kind of like, and they still kind of do it sometimes. It just kind of like sounds different though. Like they used to be on stage and they just like kind of like stand in one spot and kind of like move around in different areas and stuff like that. And it used to annoy me because I know some people want to know about it because when you got 3 people on stage, you can always look somewhere because it's 3 of them. It's not like it's just one person on there. But I just always used to feel like if there was one person on stage, I'd be so bored. Like it used to bore me. But then when the Culture City came out, they show game all the way changed over. And that's when they started really touring heavy and started doing arenas and stuff like that by themselves. You know, that's when you see them going on tours with Drake and stuff like that, and they got a 45-minute set, an hour set, and stuff like that, and can literally like handle that long of a period on stage where it's just them. So it's just like that's the last time I was super impressed like that. But yeah, man, Doja Cat gonna be a problem though. she gonna be a problem. Her show's hard. Her show hard for sure.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I haven't really seen or heard too much of her. I've heard a couple of songs, but I think it was like I think she hosted the VMAs or something like that.
She did host one of them award shows. I can't remember which one it was. She hosted like, one of them for sure.
I think that was like kind of the first time I had really kind of just started hearing about her and whatever. And I was just like, who is this? So I kind of started looking. I was like, okay. Then this season, quite a few bands started playing, more of a song. So, me, when I hear those songs and I'm like, okay, I kind of like it. I'm like, let me go see what real songs sounds like so I can get a sense of what they really sounds like. I'm
right.
Not just listening to what they're playing. I want to hear what the song really sounds like. So,
like right now, she done, ever since she did the Say So song, they done switched over her whole approach. So it's like it ain't really the viral type thing. It's like she still got these songs that go viral, but you can tell that they went from okay, it's just kind of like her putting together these songs to she's in a room with songwriters and they putting together these songs. It's like it's her, a group of songwriters, whatever the idea is that they thinking about, they piecing this idea together. You could tell that it's more than one person who's crafting this. And they kind of know what their approach is going into it. So I definitely say like for you, it'll probably be better to check out her show before getting to the album. Because I feel like it'll probably make you appreciate the album a little bit more. Because I know that you like the performance style a little bit better.
Yeah.
Then also at the same time, bubblegum music ain't for everybody anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's just like, K-pop is a big thing, but, it isn't for everybody.
Nah, facts. Like where you at? Nah, it ain't flying like that. Out here, they going up. I can definitely tell you, it's some spots out here where it's going up, man. I had a meeting probably like a month ago when I ended up in Korean Town, man. And like in there, it's like, bro, it's like 7 karaoke bars, man. It's like literally like 7 different ones up in there. So imagine never seeing a karaoke club, then you get into one space and it's like 7 of them there to pick from. Yeah, nah, it'll change your whole outlook and your whole perspective on something. Like if you ain't never seen it before, it'll completely 360 it. So this is another thing I was gonna ask you about, man. What you think about the NFL season so far?
Interesting to say the least. 'Cause I didn't see this season some of the teams doing the things that they are doing, whether it was good or bad.
Who's some of your favorites right now?
Man.
Like how does Tennessee got you feeling right now?
I like what Kansas City is doing. You know, even though they struggled, you can tell that they're still going to be a problem. You know, you can't stop Patrick Mahomes for so long.
Facts.
You know, their biggest problem is their defense, but they've really been doing everything they can to make that better.
Man, they running game shaky to me too though.
Well, you know, they've been working on that, and you know, I watched their game last night. You can tell that their running game is greatly improved, but it's still not the best. But I think the biggest thing about Kansas City right now is, you know, people are really starting to game plan against Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
Yeah, they know who they got to stop.
Yeah, but the problem is if you don't have the people to cover them, you're only going to keep them stopped for so long.
No,
Because
this is true.
Tyreek Hill is, man, he's an amazing route runner. You know, he gets open so easily and so quickly. It's like sometimes it's crazy to even think about the speed that he has, because it's like he can literally outrun everybody on anybody's defense just about. You know, there are very few people on defense that can keep up with him.
Facts. So it's a game I watched yesterday that disappointed me. I don't know how you feel about it, so I'm just gonna tell you about my perspective on it. I watched the Baltimore and Pittsburgh game yesterday. Yeah, I wasn't really too thrilled with that game. I felt like Baltimore should have blew out Pittsburgh, and then they end up losing after they could have just kicked the field goal, went to overtime. Instead, they went for 2, went for the win. Dude drops the ball, game over.
Well, again, we've already talked about coaching, right?
Facts.
That was a coaching decision to go for 2 instead of, you know, just going kick an extra point. Because the way I saw it, you know, you had the momentum. You had all the momentum behind you. Pittsburgh, that last drive really couldn't stop you. They couldn't start Lamar. You had the momentum behind you. You just scored. You take that momentum in overtime. You know, your defense has played good. Yeah, they scored a couple times on you, but you know, your defense was playing good. If you had to come out on defense, lean on your defense, see your offense, see back on the field. Or if you come out on offense, just keep attacking the way you did in the last 2 minutes. You know?
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to coaching.
Yeah.
To me, that was a questionable decision. I didn't like it when they lined up to go for 2. I mean, even if they had made it, you know, yeah, congratulations, you won, but I didn't like that. You know, not in that instance.
You know, I really feel like they took Pittsburgh too lightly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people look at Pittsburgh's record and Big Ben hasn't been the same, and then, you know, there was the thing about that he's going to be retiring at the end of the season, so people feel like he's washed up. But, man, the players they got around him on that offense, man, you can't. Big Ben's one person.
So, question, do you think he actually going to retire?
I think he does. I think his time is up. I think it's starting to show that his age is catching up with him this season. Unlike Tom Brady, you can tell that Big Ben's age is starting to catch up to him.
Man, I feel like he should have retired like 2 years ago.
I do too, but you know, he felt like he still had something in the tank, and he's played decently over over these past couple years, but this season it's been up and down for them. You can tell it's been a roller coaster, and they're doing everything they can to try to make the playoffs, but I don't see them having enough that even if they make the playoffs to make a run to get them to the Super Bowl.
No, I think they'll make the playoffs because I think Tennessee gonna lose their way out. I think Tennessee gonna lose their way out. They don't have to worry about Houston. Houston's already eliminated. It kind of depends on if the Raiders choke or not. But I got some other opinions too. I like the emergence of Deshaun Jackson for the Raiders. That was a surprise. I didn't feel like he was gonna be. First off, I didn't feel like he was gonna be still playing the way that he's playing. But watching him against the Dallas game, watching him against us, nah, man, he a problem still. He definitely still a problem. Two of my favorite teams right now. I like Dallas, of course. I hope that we keep winning and winning out. Then I like Arizona. Arizona gonna be a problem. Arizona probably NFC Championship. I'm not gonna say Super Bowl. I say NFC Championship though. I say them NFC Championship. Hopefully we make it to the NFC Championship with the Cowboys. But it really depends on what the offense gonna do right now. Our offense been kind of shaky right now. And like some people trying to blame it on Dak and trying to blame it on quarterback, and I don't really see it. Then I just look at, after the early success, I feel like other teams done had a chance to scout us better. They got a chance to scout us better, and they got a chance to pretty much prepare. The thing that's actually helping us out, which everybody didn't plan for at first, is the defense. That's one of them things that came through, just like what Jack said. That's one of the things that came through and kind of saved us, because it's like even when they started game planning, and you see the other team game plan working well against the defense, you seeing them adjustments being able to be made, and the defense actually coming through, and they actually stepping up. So like our defense is way better than last year, because last year we was giving up, especially with our DBs, we was giving up a lot of touchdowns on the DB side for sure. And this year, we got people scared to throw the ball at our DBs, so it's like a totally different thing. Because either they scared to throw the ball at us, or they throwing short passes. They throwing short passes, or they throwing passes that's under the coverage.
Well, man, I think the biggest emergence on Dallas' defense was Michael Parsons.
Oh yeah, facts.
No, I don't think anybody really thought that he was going to have the impact that he has.
No.
And I think that even game planning for him, he can still ring shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that's made a big difference for Dallas.
No, you're right, because his emergence done pretty much helped. How you say it? It didn't help accent or accentuate, or what's the word? It didn't help all the other parts of the defense look better, because it's like now the defensive line looks better. Now the corners look better. Now the safeties look better, because now you got to prepare for it different ways, and there's only so many ways you can prepare for it at one time. So it's like now we either going to slow down y'all running game, or if you start passing the ball, we got enough linebackers and corners and safeties that can actually slow that down and get picks and get interceptions. And then we got a defensive line that can actually get back to the quarterback. So it's just like it's only so many different ways you can prepare for the defense. Now it's just that the offense got to get back on the same page. Like if the offense get back to putting up 400 and 500 yards a game, then man, it's an easy Super Bowl favorite. But it just got to click on the same page. Definitely got to click on the same page.
You have to remember, man, we talk about this late in the year, getting close to the end of the regular season. And it's going to be hard to put up 400 or 500 yards of offense every game, because this is where everybody's playing their best football that they can. Especially if you're trying to make, if you're one of those teams that's trying to make the wild card, or you in the wild card and you try to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna give it everything you got. So unless a defense just has a monumental collapse, it's gonna be hard for them to put up, those type of numbers. I can see them putting up 300 yards, but it's gonna be hard to get 400 or 500 yards, especially in that division. I'm not really sure how many division games Dallas has left, but always play each other hard. You know, no matter what the record is in that division, you can never count any team out of the game. It's just like, you know, for example, yesterday, the Atlanta Falcons, they hung in there with the Bucks for a good minute, as long as they could. But then, of course, you know, depth started to take a toll on them, and that led the game to get a little bit far out of reach. But and that over in the NFC, I'll say, yeah, the NFC more than the AFC, divisional games are a lot tougher than any other game, especially this time of year.
Nah, facts. So it's definitely gonna be one of them things to continue looking out for. So right now we're gonna get ready to close out the episode. You already know this has been another episode of The Real Deal with Rich Panacea. This definitely been Unc I-Jay. Unc, any last time you wanna leave the people with?
Man, if you don't know anything about them, we talked about them, you need to go hear them for yourself. The Jackson State University Sonic Boom of the South, the best marching band out there. You looking for something that you just want to get into, go check them out. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All you got to do, Google Jackson State University Sonic Boom of the South. I guarantee you they're going to come up.
Nah, it's nothing but facts. And like that, gonna close it out. Yeah.